Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. Today we're on the Tower of Hoth, so aptly we have some Dark Elves versus High Elves, some good old-fashioned elf on elf action. I'm playing the Blessed Dread and I'm up against Koops, who is playing Yvresse, and this was taken from a King of the Hill that I played a while ago, so it's a pretty fun game. Nothing too sort of competitive in terms of, or meta in terms of the lists, but just a really fun game, and highlights, I think, quite an underrated Lord pick on the Dark Elf roster, but we'll get to that in a sec. Koops is rocking a bunch of Rangers up the front. They'll obviously deal with Dread Spears and Bleak Swords quite nicely. I think they even actually beat Corsairs 1-1, provided Murderous Prowess doesn't hit while they're fighting. White Lines of Shrace backing them up, and we have the Storm Riders, the Lothan Seaguard ROR. So I think they Vanguard deploy. They can move while shooting, or shoot while moving rather, and just generally, I guess, better stats. Behind them, we have an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, as well as 2 units of Illyrian Reavers with some serious chevrons. And up in the sky, we've got the Bird Gang. We've got a real bird gang going up here. We've got a Flamespire Phoenix, an Arcane Phoenix, and we have Eltharion, the much loved, much maligned, but I actually quite like Eltharion, to be honest. Eltharion is rocking the Helm of Yvresse. I think this is he's maybe going for a rebirth combo with this, as well as the Fang Sword, Tempest, Soul Quench, and Apotheosis, as well as the Law attribute, which does actually, I think, synergize. I think High Magic is a law of magic that synergizes very, very nicely with hybrid casters or monster riding casters. For my forces, I'm playing the Blessed Dread Sub-Faction. I've got a couple of units of Dark Riders with repeated crossbows. Up the front, I've gone pretty cheap and dreadful with 3 units of Dread Spears, 3 units of Black Ark Corsair Hambos. I've used them in this matchup actually a little bit, just to try and sort of kite ranges. And in the late game, you know, they've got okay combat stats. They obviously lose their anti-infantry bonus compared to normal dual-wielding Corsairs, but they have a little bit of armor. They're quite expensive though, so you've got to make them work somehow. Hellebrenner in the back, bringing up the rear, and I have my own. It's not so much a bird gang; it's a giant winged reptile gang. 2 black dragons and a Beastmaster, a High Beastmaster, who I think is actually quite an underrated Lord pick for the Dark Elves. Good in a couple of matchups, but we've come in with Featherfoe Talk, because obviously with Yvresse, I was anticipating maybe Eltharion being up on his Griffin, but we also have the Beast Slaver, buffs his own anti-large. Similar to Rakarth, he does maintain his bonus versus large on the Manticore, but he also has the Tormentor Sword, which is a nice little snare. He's got Stanch Ground and Whiplash to get his dragons fighting. There is also a, she's hiding, but there is also a Sorceress of Shadow, just coming in with Melkoths and Enfeebling Foe. So we're going to debuff some stats, debuff some speed. Obviously, the birds are significantly faster in the sky than my own air squad. The big lumbering beasts. So we're going to be moving up. Obviously, we've got to the onus is on us to advance with the Reaper Bolt Thrower coming in. Trying to keep my I will trying to keep my flyers a little bit more split up than Koops will, obviously, because there is the threat of Tempest coming down. Dark Riders are going to come up, and seeing that there's no real threats. I unfortunately do get a little bit too close here with to the Storm Riders, but they can actually return fire reasonably well into the Storm Riders, as they are not shielded. So Black Ark Corsair Hambos are going to come up, fire off a few volleys into the Rangers, who are going to chase them. Obviously, with their physical resist, they can mitigate some of it, but it's still not a bad use of that ammo. The Sorceress obviously getting a little bit brave, and she is getting peppered by some arrows, but we have pulled back with the Dark Riders, just timing our collapse a little bit, and we obviously do want to try and get in on the on Koops' air squad, but we do get a nice breath attack, which is going to burn off one of these units of Rangers. Corsairs are just going to hang back now as the Rangers come up to meet Dread Spears, and I am deliberately sort of pivoting out to this side so I can get flank shots into the Rangers, not sort of shoot my own troops in the back. Once again, taking a little bit of fire from the Storm Riders, but the air fight, it's on, baby. Eltharion casts a Tempest going down onto the High Beastmaster. These guys are Tormentor Sworded, so they cannot retreat, and now we're following up with the Dragons. Obviously, a lot of damage coming in onto the High Beastmaster thanks to that Tempest, but the Overwatch fire, so to speak, from the Blackheart Corsairs now, proving quite painful for one of these Phoenixes in particular. There's a lot going on up here, so hard to tell exactly what's happening, but I believe there is also an enfeebling foe going down on Eltharion, but Fangsword has him juiced up pretty nicely in terms of his damage and his physical resistance. So the two dragons now, Beastmaster have been forced to just bug out a little bit, but I'm happy with how this fight's going. I think Coops had to pop the helm actually on Eltharion just to try and keep him in the fight with the Unbreakable ability, because these dragons were really doing a bit of a number on him, and we can turn and fight now in 3v2 in the air. I mean, the Arcane Phoenixes are nice combatants, obviously, as we see. Melkoth's going down on the Arcane Phoenix. Obviously not a, no damage potential in that on a single entity, but stopping it from potentially being able to run away. In the rear, unfortunately, the Illyrian Reavers have got to grips with my Dark Riders, and my other Dark Riders have, I believe, been shattered. Where are they? I think they've gone right off the battlefield. So yeah, a bit of a loss there, but the Corsairs still have a fair bit of ammo and haven't taken really any damage. Hellebronai are going to be the perfect counter to the Illyrian Reavers here, and Eltharion now just being absolutely hunted. Arcane Phoenix, 50 armor or 35 armor with the debuff going down is not really that considerable, and with enough massed firepower from the Blackheart Corsairs, obviously a lot of damage going into them, and with the Beast Slaver going down, extra bonus versus large, 60. Oh, nice melee attack there, but yeah, the bonus to the obviously weapon damage as well as anti-large means he is going to hit very hard. We do get a rebirth, so both of Coops' birds getting rebirths. The Arcane Phoenix is obviously routing, so even with the rebirth boost to its leadership, it's not going to turn around just yet, although I don't know what's happening here. It seems to be like in combat animations or stagger animations, but yeah, Flamespire unfortunately is going to go down. Got one rebirth, but couldn't get a second. Stormrider is now going to be set upon by the Hellebronai, and the remainder of the Dark Riders are just going to fire into their back as the Corsairs will bring themselves back to the fight. Once again, we see Melkoth's going down. Melkoth's obviously doing some decent damage, some decent tick damage to a unit like Illyrian Reavers. The Arcane Phoenix is back for some more, and we're trying to just basically gut down Eltharion at this stage with the Blackheart Corsairs, screen him away from this part of the battlefield, because we know we can get to grips. Once we can get to grips with this Arcane Phoenix, we can definitely take it on, although this is a dangerous fight for the Beastmaster. We'll keep view of what's happening in the background as we see the Storm Riders getting peppered by hand bows. And this dragon is just stuck on the ground at the moment because the Phoenix is just, or my own dragon is just parked on top of it. So he's sort of just having a bit of an existential crisis down here. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but yeah, good for him. He's taking, he's figuring out who he is and just, making some decisions about his life. But the Arcane Phoenix does die this time, and once again, just we are privy to more funny interactions with unit models in this game. So that's a 2-for-1, guys. Another breath attack going down. He's going to clip these ranges, but again, a little bit of it with what ammo I do have left. I can just kite these. These are white lines, so obviously some missile resistance here. Unbreakable Eltharion is going to stave off the balance of power, but with the Beastmaster pinning him in place with the Tormentor Sword. Helm of Yvresse, Fangsword, and Apotheosis is not going to be able to save him. He's probably going to die once the dragons get in, and Coops will. I believe that his army losses hit as soon as the helm wore off. So, yeah, pretty fun game. As I mentioned, obviously with the Yvresse, this was a Sub-Faction King of the Hill. So, obviously with Yvresse, Horse Eltharion is pretty garbage. And on the Griffin, I think he's good, if not a little bit overpriced. If he comes out with like the optimal kit, usually it's something like 2.6.5. If he was more like 2.4.5, I think you could make a genuine case for him. There's a number of matchups which actually suit him quite well, but yeah, you've got to get work done. I mean, he's done a pretty. I mean, he's got bashed from pillar to post in this game, and he's still managed to get 2,500. But high magic complements combat characters like him pretty well. Fangsword means he's got a good combat steroid. He can heal himself. Tempest means he can hold his own in the sky, even if perhaps he's a little bit outnumbered. I like him. I use him in a number of matchups. Just wish he was a little bit cheaper. Arcane Phoenix and the Flamespire not having as good a day. They really were set upon by the Beastmaster and the Dragons in the early game. Bolt Thrower's obviously done a bit of work because we were obviously busy with stuff in the sky. It was able to shoot for the majority of the game, and these juiced up Illyrian Reavers did manage to get on our repeated crossbows at one point, but not doing a lot else for their value. This is a cool pick. I don't think I've ever played against this unit in a competitive or non-competitive. So good stuff, Coops, getting 8.5 out of them. But yeah, the front line I think did quite poorly, basically because I could use breath attacks on the White Lions. The Rangers can be kited by the Black Ark Corsairs, who have all done. I think if you can get your cost back on Black Ark Corsairs with handbows, I think you've done pretty well, and they're pretty much full health. So in the late game, this is a decently statted unit with decent armor. I don't think they did a lot of fighting in this game, to be honest. They've farmed the Phoenixes a little bit. My Dark Riders got completely forgotten about, but the Dragons 2.4, 2.2, making their cost back and then some. Front lines just stalled. This one's done all right. Not a lot of value, but she was just a debuff engine. And look at that, 3.2 on the High Beastmaster. Tormentor Sword is one of the better generic items. Probably, I would say, I think if you were to pick a, I think it'd be out of Helm of Discord or Tormentor Sword as like the most impactful generic items in the game. It's obviously a stat debuff, but also just the snare ability really does mean something like the High Beastmaster, who I think this is an okay matchup for him. I think he can also be okay against Warriors of Chaos, and I would say a genuinely good pick against Bretonnia. So keep that in the back of mind, because the High Beastmaster allows for pretty good face sniping ability with the Tormentor Sword. But yeah, like I said, a fun game. Thanks to Coops for the game, and two very fun builds, and yeah, it was a fun one that I thought I'd cast for your enjoyment. So thanks for coming by and checking it out. We'll be back with more soon, and until then, take care.